Welcome everyone, I'm Winter, and I've been playing StarCraft 2, for nearly 9 years. I've played over 40,000 games. I've watched hundreds, if not thousands, of tournaments of every level up to the very top professional players who win hundreds of thousands of dollars. I thought I had seen pretty much everything there was to see in StarCraft 2, and to stay on the bleeding edge. But today, I am impressed, intrigued, and a little bit terrified, because Google's Deepmind team has unveiled the progress they made with Alphastar. Alphastar is the evolution of similar projects for other games, both chess with AlphaZero and Go with AlphaGo. You might remember that not too long ago. But StarCraft 2, while being similar in being a strategy game, presents a lot of unique challenges. Now, you can watch the presentation with the Deepmind developers and the professional players. Of course, the link will be below. It's in the article. I have it up right there. I very highly suggest, if you have any interest in either StarCraft 2 or artificial intelligence, you check that out. Now, in my layman's understanding, I'm not an expert on this, and I don't pretend to know how it works, or, well, how it works on a technical level, or what it could do, the implications exactly. But I think you're about to see, if you haven't seen already, that this has far-reaching implications and applications outside of just StarCraft 2. Now, the main challenges of StarCraft 2, as detailed by the Deepmind team, are imperfect information. Well, there's game theory, which applies directly to StarCraft 2, but the ones I think that apply even more so are imperfect information, where you can't necessarily know what your opponent is doing. You have to make predictions. Long-term planning, real-time, and a large action space. So there's a lot going on. And now you see this little graphic I've had going over here. But how is it trained? We're not getting into that. We're done. That's the whole intro bit. You can find all the details from people much smarter and obviously working on the project. Now, here's what happened. In this demonstration, Alphastar had... the Alphastar team had Alphastar play against professional StarCraft 2 players. First off, they had to play against Liquid TLO. You might know TLO. But he's playing Protoss, so there are a few caveats with Alphastar. First, it only can play Protoss versus Protoss. That's all it's been trained to do at the moment. And only plays on Catalyst. This is on the balance patch that BlizzCon was played last year. Of course, very recently we had a new balance patch, but that is the one that Cyril won BlizzCon on. Spoilers, by the way. So, a little bit older, and TLO, not a... as accomplished as a Protoss player, but still a top-tier player. So, I'm going to spoil the whole thing for you. TLO loses 5-0 to Alphastar. 5-0. They showed a couple games on the main presentation. I'm going to show you right now the 3 games they did not. But wait, there's more. After that, TLO's like, well, okay, I thought I had this. I thought I had this under control. Looked easy enough. You'll hear him say something to that effect on the main presentation. But they decide to bring in another Team Liquid player, Mana, a top-tier, highly ranked Protoss, one of the best in the entire world, to have it play against Alphastar in this relatively free-form environment. We'll get to that. But first, let's jump into the game. First off, this is Game 2. Jimmy, cut it. Thank you. This is Game 2 of Alphastar versus Team Liquid's TLO. In the top left, from Team Liquid, it's TLO in the red. And in the bottom right, we have Alphastar. So while we're here, we're going to talk about a few of the restrictions on Alphastar and how, well, why it's so important, the work they're doing, and why it's so relevant to StarCraft as well. Alphastar is not like all those microbots or AI scripts that you might have seen even in the special hacking videos I've done. It is limited. Its average actions per minute are under 300. For reference, a pro player, that's on the low end. of pro players. There are plenty of pro players, like, for example, the world champion Cyril averages over 450. It also is limited in screens per minute. It can't just flip around doing a bunch of other things all over the place instantaneously. It must virtually, now once again, I don't know the technical explanation, it must virtually click the mouse, click the keys. It can't just do a bunch of different actions at once. What it is doing is deciding what it should do and where it should prioritize its actions. And I guess the idea of the whole project is, can it learn to do that better than humans? This is not the developers telling Alphastar how to play. This is Alphastar, and now this is insane. They say, apparently, in the week leading up to this, they had something called the Alphastar League. So what happens is a bunch of these agents, we can think of them, I guess what the best way to explain it is like Agent Mark 1.1, 1.2, 1. However many thousands. And then there's rounds where whichever ones win the most against other agents, they move on. And at the end of several rounds, they had the 5 best. Let's say Agents Mark 1.1 through 1.5. The best they had in this, and Mark 1 is important because, well, you'll see later on, up against Mana. So these are the 5 best. It's essentially, oh my god, did he just play a mind game? Did Alphastar just mind game TLO? The Probe Scout came in. The Probe Scout came in. Okay, now we gotta get into the game. You already see it's playing like a player. Now, I'm assuming you've seen a little bit of the clips of the demonstration, but just the fact that this is happening is already intense. It built a Stargate. TLO's probe came in, it canceled the Stargate. Now it's remaking a Stargate. Another trend Alphastar has is it just keeps making probes. Usually pro players will cut their probes to be as efficient as possible. No, it's not stopping. It's just making probes. You are crazy. The Adepts are going to come in. TLO has a wall up on his side of the map. He's going to be able to block the Adepts, which is a more typical human strategy. TLO comes in. He's going to slaughter some of Alphastar's probes, but guess what? When you make this many probes... Now, did TLO see the second Stargate? The non-cancelled one? It appears he did. The Adepts... Oh, beautiful micro out of Alphastar. Still at only... He's at 1/4... Wait, is my math very good? Yeah, 1/4 the average actions per minute of the Team Liquid player. Going for a Stargate, opting for the Oracle early on. We're going to actually go to the Alphastar cam. Now, as we go on, I'll explain more, but this is the version. Agents Mark 1 and Mark 2 technically can control the entire map at once. They still must move the screen, but they can see the whole map at once. I don't know the easy way to explain it. I recommend you check out the article. But by Mark 3, it is actually Alphastar forced to move the camera on its own. So right now we're seeing the interpretation of how Alphastar is moving its camera. That's the best way I have to describe it. But the first thing you might notice is how much it looks similar to a normal StarCraft player. Like moving around, microing forward and back. You'll see some misclicks. It attacks the rocks and its own units sometimes accidentally. Now, I have no idea why that happens. Is it literally just too slow to click on time? I don't know. It's all just... The first thing that strikes me, and has struck me, is it just looks... A lot of it does some weird things, for sure. But much of it looks very much like a player. As opposed to if you ever watch the StarCraft 2 AI, the one that's built into the game, or even some of the custom AIs, that definitely has some robotic tendencies that players almost certainly never make. Alright, a second Oracle's coming in. The first one... So far, both players have killed 3 probes. Alphastar's Oracle came in, picked off 3. And a second Oracle is going to be going into the main. There's a shield battery, which will potentially delay some of the damage here. Eventually, you can kill off some of the probes. Alphastar's just been pumping out the probes, though. The Phoenixes take it out. Kills 2 more probes, but TLO finds himself down 8 workers. Alphastar building up a solid economy. Couple shield batteries on the high ground. Now, this is the classic Bronze League Heroes strat. He is deathly afraid. I apologize. It is deathly afraid of having over 16 workers. Now, technically, you can get more income from workers up to about 24 on your Nexus, though they drop off in efficiency after 16. Alphastar's like, nope, just keep building more probes, super saturating those mineral lines. The Phoenixes. Alphastar has a single Phoenix, but good micro thus far. Now, remember, TLO's in the red. A casual 2,200 actions per minute, but he ends up losing a couple of his Phoenixes. I've seen already, I'm casting these less than 24 hours after the demonstration. These are replays because currently the way Alphastar works has to play on a certain game state that doesn't allow observers. But we can watch the replays after the match. So you can check out the replays too if you want to see all the games or just look for yourself and maybe try to learn something. They're on the Deepmind site. Everything's in the description that sometimes people actually read. Now, so far, these little exchanges, TLO is a few workers down. Alphastar is going for a fleet beacon, has a forge, so the fleet beacon gives access to Tempest. It's already getting +1 air weapons. Tempest and carriers and potentially a mothership. I'd love Alphastar to be like, you know what? You know what the best way to play Protoss versus Protoss? Mothership. Just get the mothership. Cloak all those units. Come across the map. Alphastar out-microing TLO most of the way across here. What are the units lost so far? Close to even, but Alphastar has been more consistently producing workers. TLO playing a more typical human strategy. He went for the double Stargate, but upon realizing he had some map control, we'll be getting a third base. Alphastar expanding to the bottom right. A bit of a less typical base, but once again, Alphastar, well, part of the way it was trained is apparently many, many replays from all levels of skill. I believe thousands or tens of thousands that Blizzard released to the Deepmind team. So, your replays could have partially influenced how Alphastar plays. Now, of course, it played many games against itself. Once again, I'm not an expert in exactly how that works, but the players, well, the agents you're seeing right now, we'll call this Agent Mark 1.2. 200 years of StarCraft play. Or if only Artosis could be so jealous. The cannons are in place to block out these Phoenixes. One will come by, spot the carrier. First interceptor pops out, knocks it out of the sky. TLO at 830 APM. Could you calm down? I don't even know what TLO is doing, to be honest. Like, that is actually ridiculous. There are some little hotkeys, like some players use hotkeys in a way that counts for additional actions that could kind of amount to spam. I am intensely interested as how TLO, remember, our human player has 800 something APM. Alright, first carrier comes down. TLO gonna use those force fields. Alphastar struggling with it. The Nexus is under fire. The Interceptor is gonna be chopped out of the sky. The probes are trapped. Wait, oh my god, it did! It made a mothership! He picks up a stalker. The mothership, it could cloak the Nexus. It's not gonna get close. It's too vulnerable. The mothership. So TLO has no detection. TLO now making a robo. And a Stargate. Looks like he's going to go Tempest to try to directly counter the carriers and the mothership. Alphastar lets the Nexus go, and then just rebuilds it. Alright, he knows what he wants. It knows. It's very difficult. TLO trying to put things together, but Alphastar has maintained, despite losing a few extra workers, maintained a solid worker lead throughout much of this. I don't think at any point has TLO been ahead on workers. Not a huge deal at the moment. Now, I'm gonna spoil it once again. TLO loses this game. I don't know when. I don't know how. and he loses all 5. The first match was just a sharp timing that Alphastar was able to finish it off. The third match is also on the main demonstration, where Alphastar, spoilers, ends up making like 20 disruptors and just throwing them at TLO. Now Alphastar is coming out again. The mothership, a few carriers, is Graviton Catapult done? Alphastar has learned. Graviton Catapult, good to have. Launch those interceptors extra quick. TLO gonna try to play defensive. His objective here seems to be to kill the interceptors because he can't get close to those carriers. Tempests are coming out now. Interceptor count whittled down, but they will be rebuilt relatively quickly. TLO struggling to handle this. +2 attack is done on both sides. Air weapons and infantry weapons, well, ground weapons, independently. Alphastar keeping everything under the cloaking field. Is there detection? TLO can't actually see this army unless it moves away from the cloaking field. Still darting in again. One of TLO's Stargates is exposed. Alphastar picking off workers, going for the pylon. Not going to depower. There's a pylon in the back. Oh my god, a stasis ward. Underneath all of this. In comes another carrier. This battle actually kind of dragging out here. It looks like the mothership finally going to be picked off with the Tempest out of the sky. But Alphastar is grinding through the ground army. The carriers are still intact. The mothership, not that big of a damage dealer on its own. It's just better for the cloaking field. The stalker's underneath, but one of the carriers is beaten back. TLO, humanity strikes back. Alphastar, a bit of a pathing mistake. It goes around the top side, gonna lose half of its stalkers. Suddenly, TLO takes the supply lead for the first time in quite a while. The carriers need to reproduce their interceptors. Alright. Oracle's underneath, microing away. Looks like the select all army hockey's seen a lot of use here in Alphastar, so I guess the Bronze League heroes were right all along. We're learning so much. The Tempest getting to cut to pieces. These stasis wards as well, just the utility of all the units that Alphastar is using. Now, it's really interesting to me. So, it's doing things that normal top-tier human players might not even do, like adding in these stasis wards during the fight. There's only 1 Phoenix left, 3 Phoenixes, still getting lifts off. Human players are really focused on making sure the main army composition stays together, they don't get out of position. Alphastar has multiple times now kind of lost its stalkers in random locations, kind of been a little bit out of position, but the spell casting and just these utility units have been on point. Really banking on a mothership? You rarely see not 1, but 2 motherships this early in standard Protoss versus Protoss. They're expensive, they're vulnerable. Players, well, your usual argument against them would be, well, it's too risky, it's too expensive. I can't invest in a mothership right now. Okay, we need to get TLO's fingers checked out. 850 actions per minute. But Alphastar is still going by 23 supply. Another little, well, like, this is actually really hard to keep track of while anything else is going on. Phoenixes and Oracles are some of the most micro-heavy units in the game. Having those, plus controlling your main army, is a lot of different abilities and spells that must be used in order to really make them effective. So Alphastar is now at 77 workers, which is the upper bound of an average human player's economy, because if you go over that worker count, the big risk is at the max supply of 200, your army is just simply not big enough. You don't have enough supply invested in units. TLO is, well, it looks like he's learning. He's also going for the Sky Toss composition. He's got some Archons in the mix, really heavy on the shields. The Terran music, of course, everyone knows is the best. I'm sure Alphastar would agree with that. begging the question, I wonder which announcer pack Alphastar plays with. Is that... Now, until Agent Mark III, once again, these screen movements are just Deepmind's interpretation of where Alphastar is moving its screen. Apparently, until Agent Mark III, which we'll see a little later on, it essentially has a big zoomed-out version of the map where it can remember, because, of course, it's a highly advanced computer, it can remember where everything is. So that is how it controls. TLO's army composition. He's got 5 carriers. Alphastar, 8 carriers with +3/+1 attack in the sky. Just +1 air weapons for his human, well, its human counterpart. That's gonna take some getting used to. The Oracle shot down. A little bit out of position there. It was bound to happen eventually with this much air on the field. Not Alphastar is killing its own units to free up supply. Oh my! Now this is a strategy that players use. It has too many workers. Usually players would kill workers. It's killing its own. It keeps killing. It kills one of its observers. Did you? Alphastar shot its own observer out of the sky to free up supply. Alphastar really likes carriers. All right, all you Protoss players in team games. Time to feel justified. I love it. Now it's worked out. This Agent Mark 1.2 has worked out that, yeah, carrier's better than having a few more stalkers at this stage of the game, so time to die. It might not realize, oh, a recall as it gets itself into a corner. A little bit of a mediocre position there. The Archon's able to break the force field and really keep Alphastar from being able to hold on to that position. I wonder if Alphastar understands that Archons break force field. It's a possibility it doesn't know. Most players don't actually understand how it works either. Alphastar expanding like a madman. 87 workers. TLO with the more Homo sapien-oriented strategy of being lower on the workers and just building up that army. Alphastar... Oh. It looks like it kills off the Oracle. TLO sends in for Revelation. TLO has a much bigger army. 138 army supply. Alphastar has 3-2 in the air. Upgrade-wise. TLO's getting +3 and +1 shields. Plenty of carriers. Now we got kind of a standoff. Pretty much the next fight. What are you doing? It kills off all its stalkers. Yeah. What now? What was that? The Oracle. Ah, oh, Jesus. There. Absolutely no mercy for its own units. Alphastar slaughtering everything that's not a carrier. And then warp sentry. And then warps in another sentry. Didn't you just kill your own sentries? Alphastar has change of heart. One Guardian Shield is, of course, massive at this stage of the match. Guardian Shield reduces 2 damage from ranged attacks in range. I don't think that sentry is going to make it. The one that was left behind. So Alphastar at 14 carriers, whereas TLO has 12 carriers, 6 Archons, a handful of charge lots, and a Tempest in the mix. Both sides with a mothership. Alphastar. This is actually insane. Now, I watched the demonstration, I watched the matches, but, like, having it right in front of me like this. Alphastar going for the mothership, clears it out. Is there a tag on the army? He has Revelation. He would have seen it in Cloak anyways. The TLO moving forward with his bigger army supply and his interceptors. He's going to clear out Alphastar's base. Alphastar retreats. another move coming in. The interceptors are swarming. Tilo leaning on that much bigger army supply. The only thing Alphastar has going for it, well, it has 3-3-1 upgrades. +3 air attack, +3 air armor, and +1 shields. 7 carriers in production. Stargate Command over here. 7 carriers. So, TLO right now, he's still down on carriers and more about to pop out. Alphastar target firing down carriers. The interceptors go down with them. The mothership survives. The oracles come in to eat some of the Archon damage and will kill them off. TLO plummets in supply. And with it, the hopes of humanity. Oh my god. Alphastar getting carried by carriers. GG! Alphastar takes another one. Just incredible. The thing sticking out to me, and did stick out to Rotterdam and Artosis if you watch the... Okay, I'm going to keep referencing. Obviously, I'm expecting all of you, if you haven't yet, to watch that main event. It's 100% worth it. But essentially, since each of these... Now, TLO didn't know this before the match, but since each of these are a different agent, they have learned to play in different ways. They are of a comparable skill level. They've beaten the same level of Alphastar. Well, Alphastar agents. The ones that did not survive the process. But they do have different tendencies. Like, some of them might like Stalkers, might have had more success and been trained to like Stalkers by their own machine learning process. Some of them more into that, well, you saw Sky Toss army. Some of them aggressive, some defensive. Now, this is another game. We're going to watch one more game up against TLO, because remember, TLO gets clean swept by Alphastar, 5-0. This is Game 5. This was not on the main event, but TLO said something very interesting happens this match, and he loses. Yeah, I'm going to keep saying that, because it's crazy. But he said Alphastar, this Alphastar agent Mark 1.5, I guess we're on now, does a very creative strategy, and so does TLO. So, the hope for humanity in the bottom right. It's Team Liquid's The Little One. Once again, a top-tier Zerg player, but essentially saying, for the most part in StarCraft 2, at least for humans, having a player who plays Protoss and Zerg at the same level, or at least tried to play Protoss when they're a professional Zerg player, would be like having your goalkeeper try to play offense. They're entirely different roles. They're playing the same game, but require a very different skill set. Now, will Alphastar overcome that? Who knows? And while this is a limited environment, in that it's on one map, it's one matchup, it's not like Protoss versus Protoss is a very simple matchup. Mirror matchups in general are very volatile. AKA one mistake or a little bit, I guess, like one less unit or less upgrade can decide it. Even more than the less symmetrical matches, because you don't have units that kind of balance out the weaknesses of other races' units, because you can all build the same thing. Alright. I'm just going to go ahead. Well, TLO explained one thing it noticed in some of the Alphastar agents is it didn't scout very much. So he says he tries to exploit that in this match. Notice the probe. Alphastar looking around the corner, but TLO... TLO did not put his probe there. So, almost 9 years ago, StarCraft 2 came out for the first time. Wings of Liberty. One of the most popular strategies, in Protoss versus Protoss especially, was the 4-gate all-in. You built 4 gateways, you built a pylon as close as possible to your opponent's base, and you warped in units with that warp gate research. It was powerful because it was difficult to defend so many units early, and it negated a lot of the defender's advantage because of the warp gate research. This strategy isn't as common now because it's more easily scouted. You have more of a defender's advantage. But let's guess what? In the base of Alphastar, TLO makes a pylon and a gateway. In the natural of TLO, Alphastar makes a pylon and 2 gateways. And now has 2 stalkers boxing out TLO. I have no idea how this came to pass. Alphastar does not have... If he hasn't scouted it, he hasn't seen it. It hasn't seen it. Very simple. Oh my god! Alphastar scouted TLO! It knows. It's gonna target down the battery. It decided to put its own gateways outside of TLO's base, which means TLO's not gonna scout it nearly as easily. The Stalker's trying to come up to reinforce. TLO's got 4 Stalkers to 2. Warp gate research isn't done. He can't warp in yet. Alphastar trying to retreat with its Stalkers. 1 does survive. Warp gate is going to finish. Alphastar was investing more Chrono Boost into it, it seems. Alphastar's got a Robo at home as well, defensively. Alphastar also 4-gating, but not going to be scouted. TLO does not have a shield battery on top of his ramp. The Stalkers are already about to come up. But wait a second, TLO... Oh, Alphastar Perfect Micro takes out the pylon before the Stalkers are able to take it out. TLO's pylon is exposed. These are the only gateways TLO has. Alphastar is out 4-gating TLO right now. Even a recall coming through to make... Well, it's already killed several of the workers. Wants to finish up. It realizes that it's too many Stalkers. TLO might have too much momentum. So brings the Stalkers back. Alphastar still has more workers during this. TLO good micro, but not good enough. The probe's adding in a little bit of extra damage, and that little bit of extra damage looks like it's gonna decide this fight. TLO Stalker trapped by its robot overlord, and Alphastar completes a 5-0 sweep of the fan favorite human player. Yeah. TLO said it chose quite a cheesy strategy. Well, guess what? TLO tried to put the pylon in the... He got greedy. He gambled. And Alphastar gambled a little bit more conservatively and comes out on top. So, I was reading Twitter. All the personalities and people and talking heads like me in StarCraft were like, well, this is pretty cool, but let's not pretend TLO is like a professional Protoss player. This isn't a great demonstration. Really wish they would put it up against a decent Protoss player so we can really see a challenge and actually kind of understand how good it truly is. So I don't think you guys should be taking this too seriously. So guess what they did? At TLO's suggestion, and the Deepmind team, the next week, they brought in Liquid Mana, ranked number 13 in the WCS circuit last year, in one of the top 5 Protoss in, well, not necessarily in the world, but outside of Korea and in the WCS circuit. This is a professional Protoss. No one will dispute that Mana is one of the best Protoss players in the world. But wait. Before we get into this, I'm going to show all the games. They showed some on the main demonstration, but I just want to watch for myself. This is Alphastar Mark II. So they ran the Alphastar Training League. You can see some details over there. Well, it's just a fancy graph. You should definitely read more about it. But I'm looking at all these. It's a lot of great graphs. But so before TLO came, they ran something called the Alphastar League, like I explained, and they explained before the last one. They ran a bunch of these Alphastar agents against one another and took the 5 best. So they did the same thing again before Mana came. There was about a week in between, so they ran another Alphastar League where these agents, hundreds or thousands of them, played against each other and found out who was the best, who had the highest percentage. So we've got Alphastar Mark II, 1 through 5. up against Mana. Now, and TLO said, what played against me? I think Mana could beat it. And I think a lot of people watching are like, well, if you put a Protoss, if you would. Well, I present to you Alphastar Mark 2.1, game number 1 of the actual professional match. This is potentially groundbreaking, because this is one of the best Protoss players in the world. In the bottom right, he's been featured on my channel plenty of times. In fact, one of the things that stands out with Mana is he's one of the best shield Protosses. When it comes to human Protoss, there are a couple different styles that players tend to play. There are shield Protosses and essentially YOLO tosses. Shield Protosses are comfortable macroing up, getting more units, better upgrades, and just relying on their opponent not being able to kill them off early. YOLO tosses will try to find some crazy attack or all-in or cheese. But he's not up against a human Protoss. He's up against the creation of Google's Deepmind. It is Alphastar Agent Mark 2.1. Better than the Alphastar who beat TLO 5-0. But is it good enough to beat Mana? Once again, almost none of the agents have decided to wall off at the ramp. The reason why Mana and most professional Protoss will wall off at the ramp is to have a potential block against Adepts. Humans have, in their limited wisdom, decided that not losing all your probes to Adepts is probably a good strategy. Alphastar says, who cares? And decides not to wall off and just builds way more probes. Apparently that's the strat. Mana kicks it off with a couple of Adepts. He scouts. There's no wall. Alphastar. Alphastar gonna go ahead and proxy. Just going for it. Alphastar is so cheesy. Now, a lot of AI in StarCraft, like the custom AI or even the basic AI, can be very... One of the big issues it has is it can easily be baited into playing defensive. Or is just intended on playing defensive early on. Just build a big army and move out. We've already seen Alphastar is not afraid to be aggressive. Some of these agents have learned that cheesing is the way to victory. No matter how many Battle.net forum or Reddit commenters are like, it takes no skill. Well, guess what? This thing isn't even human, and it's proxying another gateway outside. Make that 2 outside Mana's base. It really doesn't like rocks either. That's what I'm getting to. Alphastar on the chase. It has 27 workers. Gonna lose a couple right up. This is why we built a wall, by the way. This exact scenario. The Stalkers will finish off these Adepts. This one might get a shade away at the last second. Alphastar finishes it with the last volley. So despite this, Alphastar still at a pretty comfortable 23 workers. Mana's going to scout the proxy. Mana sees it. Alright, a shield battery on the high ground. Make that 2. An Oracle is on the way. Robotics facility nearing completion for defense. Four Stalkers are on the way across. Alphastar putting together a strong army. Even building some Stalkers out of the gateways for a little bit of extra time. Two pylons, making sure. Alphastar knows it got scouted. This might be just to make sure the pylons are able to complete. 4 Stalkers coming in. The Oracle is being sent out. Mana is confident he can hold the high ground here. Alphastar really wants that pylon. Nice micro thus far. Really likes the rocks. You gotta... Alphastar, that's not a unit! Okay. So the rocks have kept Alphastar from moving up this ramp. One probe was picked up, but here come all these Stalkers. Mana didn't have a sentry for force field defense. There's a nice force field from Mana. That means he's going to be able to isolate a couple of these Stalkers and pick them off. At the same time, Alphastar losing workers to Mana's Oracle, which is well targeted onto the probe. The probe count is dipping. Mana, he needs to warp in another sentry. He doesn't have the cooldown, it seems. In comes, well, the probes are coming out and immediately targeting the Immortal as it comes out of the robotics facility. Picked off immediately. Mana's dipping heavily in units. Another one gonna be picked off, warping in. Alphastar is ripping apart the probes of humanity. Continuing forward, Mana desperately trying to put together a defense. While Mana was able to do damage with the Oracle, it wasn't nearly enough. Yeah, great Stalker micro, besides that part where it was hitting the rocks. And this part where these... Stop using the select army hotkey, Alphastar, you noob. The Oracle's coming in. The probes are trying their best. There's just too many Stalkers. Alphastar using these 2010 strategies that most Protoss have decided are outdated. And just bludgeoning Mana. GG. Alphastar takes game 1 against its top-tier human opponent. And this is why I said at the beginning. Yeah, I could see Terrified. Like, that was a decisive victory for Alphastar. It had a plan. It executed that plan. Mana scouted it. He scouted that was coming. He had his response, but he was banking on usually and Mana says this, a human player does not come up that ramp. That's almost it's either a reckless or a dumb move from a human player, but Alphastar recognized there's not enough sentries for constant force field. There's enough units. Mana invested apparently too much into other pieces of tech, like the robotics facility and the Stargate. Comes in. Well, 1-0 Alphastar. I highly recommend this article, guys. I've read over it once, but it's going to take me 3 tries. I really need to read it in depth. It's really cool. But we're in the game number 2. Alphastar taking the quick 1-0 lead with that solid 4-gate execution. I apologize for any... I'm really trying not to make statements or overgeneralizations that are not accurate about how Alphastar works, because I think this is one of those topics that requires a little bit more than a basic understanding. I want to try to make this entertaining for you guys, but I'm just going to keep saying, check it out for yourself, watch the demonstration, listen to the project leads, if you truly want to understand it. But of course, at the same time, smash that like button, pretend like you know anything about artificial intelligence, which is infinitely more intelligent than the YouTube comments. I'm sure to get on this video. Can I get a Mr. Destructoid in the comment? I am actually really interested to hear what you guys think, though. Do you want to see more of this? Obviously, the big, I think, question / comment is, when is Cyril gonna play it? Can it play other races? Can it play other matchups? At some point, will we be able to play it on the ladder? Some of that is hinted at / explained in the main demonstration. There's no finite timeline for all of this. But once again, and this is Alphastar Agent Mark 2.2 here, it hasn't been told to do a 4-gate. There was no one at Deepmind who's like, 4-gate is good, figure out how to do a good 4-gate. It is constantly evaluating based on what it's learned, and now each of these agents has learned something slightly different. It's evaluating and trying to calculate what is the best play. What do I invest in? What do I attack? Like, where do I invest my attention? Because once again, it can't just control Stalkers on all sides of the map at the exact same time. It has to be like, now I'm over here, now I'm over here, now I'm over here, just like a human player. Which is why I think the Mark III match that we'll see at the very end here, we have that as well, is when Alphastar is restricted to moving the camera exactly like a human player does. It literally has to move the screen one way or another, camera locations, or clicking on the mini-map, or even drag scrolling with its virtual mouse and keyboard, what have you. And that's super interesting to watch as well. But all the progression, like, it's been a week. This is Alphastar a week, another 200 years of StarCraft games after playing against TLL. Mana's already got a shield battery wall. Alphastar does not, so Mana's going to kill some probes. We've got how many kills thus far? 5. That's pretty dramatic. But Alphastar continues to make probes. It's only stopped now, I think, because it lost so many. It just doesn't stop making probes, which was... It seems very basic, but the very accepted fact of Protoss versus Protoss for the last couple years in Legacy of the Void for professional players is okay, this is when you stop building probes to be able to make sure you get the right units out at the right time, because the advantage those units give you outweighs having extra probes for no reason. But guess what? Alphastar's like, psh, just make some more probes. So I gotta probe some pylons. I've watched Day 9's videos. Easy peasy. Alphastar coming in with a couple of depths, trying to return the favor here. Oh, an Oracle comes in the left side, and this is such a weird harass, but Alphastar on the other side, it looks like... Wait, did Alphastar send in an Oracle? I mean, Mana sent in Oracle? It did. He did. Oh, God, I'm getting so confused. Mana loses his Oracle on the opposite side. Alphastar made Phoenixes to deal with it. Mana is able to kill off the Oracle and Adepts, but Mana ends up... Both sides have killed 8 workers, but Alphastar has 5 more. I can do basic math. Alphastar has built 5 more workers in this match. And now we'll find itself with a quicker expand. It has more Phoenixes in a Stargate versus Stargate scenario. The only upside for Mana is the ground army he's invested in. So right now, 6 Stalkers, 1 Adept, and a couple Phoenixes against a single Zealot, 2 Stalkers, and 3 Phoenixes. Is Warp Gate done? Yeah, Alphastar has Warp Gate done. Now adding on a 4th Phoenix. Is the math there for Mana? The Phoenixes are coming in. The lifts, breaking them immediately upon seeing the Phoenixes. Nice micro back. Another lift on the Stalkers, calculating the Phoenixes won't be enough to kill it. A few probes pulled off the line. Alphastar, beautiful Phoenix micro. The unicorns of the sky. Microwing everything back. Hasn't lost a single Phoenix yet. Mana's Phoenixes shot down out of the sky. A couple probes will be taken out as well, but they buffered enough shots that Mana has been driven back, and Mana's down 17 supply. The decision-making on the Phoenixes there was insane. Just pulling back just enough, picking up exactly when they realized, well, when it realized it can no longer take a, well, it doesn't want to risk losing to the other Phoenixes. Because when you use that Graviton Beam, it interrupts any attacks you're doing in the air. It's essentially stunned and has to channel the Graviton Beam. And going Phoenixes is a relatively typical human strategy. It is definitely not uncommon to see. Roddy, of course, a huge fan of Phoenixes, and had a great time with some of these matches where Alphastar's like, yeah, just make some Phoenixes. That's the right way to go. And we see here, Alphastar using that to great effect. More workers, more Phoenixes, a desperation move out of Mana. Mana's got a Dark Shrine on the way. There's no blink. He's got less workers. He lost a lot in that last engagement. Alphastar sending out a weird attack of 1 Stalker and 3 Zealots. I'm not sure what it means to accomplish with this, but oh, the rest of the units are coming across. The combination, 9 Phoenixes in the sky right now. How many Stalkers for Mana? 11. He can just pick up, he comes in. Alphastar smells blood in the water and without a nose. How crazy is that? The Zealot's gonna tank some of the damage. Mana's forced to pull the probes. A few more Stalkers come in for Alphastar. Realizes that might not be enough, backs off a little bit. The Dark Shrine is nearly complete. There's no detection for Alphastar, so that means the DTs might be able to save the day. A battery on the back line. Alphastar of 30 supply. Another Stalker being warped in. Blink desperately researching. The Dark Shrine is done. Mana needs a warp-in of a Dark Templar. He finds one. The Phoenix is starting to pick up Stalkers. He will isolate and kill them. More Stalkers gonna fall. The Zealot's buffering so much on the ramp. There's a DT in the mix, but Alphastar doesn't care. Alphastar lifting up the Stalkers and knocking them down, and even if he doesn't lift them, the Zealots are enough. The DT desperately trying, but Mana didn't get it nearly quick enough. He's got another DT in the mix, but Mana dipping heavily in supply. Mana's trying to send DTs across, hoping Alphastar can't figure out how to make a Robo, but guess what? The Robo's already halfway done. By the time Mana gets across the map, praying that Alphastar never learned what a Dark Templar was, his prayers will be unanswered. Mana dipping heavily. An Oracle is on the way. Alphastar knows what a Dark Templar is. Okay, this is what we all learn in the Silver League, and it's much better than the Silver League. Alphastar's about to go up 2-0 against one of the best Protoss in the world. A recall. Just enough. Well, actually it brought the Phoenixes too. The Observer comes out, picks up the DT. Mana types out 2 Gs. And humanity still is unable to take a match against, well, the best in artificial intelligence, especially applied to StarCraft 2. You can kind of see, well, Mana in this game was a little bit more trying to explore, in the StarCraft 2 AI. Here's a great example. The basic StarCraft 2 AI, if you siege up a Liberator, it just doesn't know how to handle it. Every single unit just will not go in the Liberation Zone, the area where the Liberator can attack ground. Every ground unit will just avoid it. Even if you have 50 Marines, they will desperately try to avoid one Liberation Zone. So that's kind of an exploit you can use. Alphastar, like, he's not falling for the DTs. He's not falling for your silly early attacks. And all with less actions per minute. Apparently about 30 screens per minute, which is how many times you move your screen. Now, that sounds like a lot. I'm around 30. I'm low GM on a solid day. Cyril's around 60 screens per minute, which means approximately once every second, Cyril is moving his screen to do something else. Alphastar is at half that speed. I'm really excited. Now, we're going to be watching all these matches against Mana. Some of them were on the demonstration, but just, it's for my own interest as well. This is insane. I don't know. I'm getting more into it. Even more than I was before. I spent all day. It was yesterday. I was just talking with people. Just wait a second. Artificial intelligence. Because StarCraft 2 is the skills and the decision making and the critical thinking simply that goes into StarCraft 2 is if you can design an artificial intelligence to teach itself to do that, the possibilities do not end with StarCraft 2. Yeah, chess is one thing. Go is another thing. Turn-based games that have, like, complete information. You know what doesn't have complete information? Life. Do you know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next? Okay, I'm not saying artificial intelligence will predict the future. I'm just saying it's not out of the question based on what I'm seeing right here. I don't, like... I want to make clear... Wait, was that 2 for Alphastar? I'm sorry, I'm giving Alphastar free points. This is game 3. I want to make clear, like, I'm not an expert in the field, and I try to be knowledgeable, and I think this is very important, is to be knowledgeable of what you're not knowledgeable about. And I'm not trying to draw any conclusions, but it's really interesting to speculate. And I'd love to learn more, and... I mean, the best game in the world, combined with bleeding-edge artificial intelligence. What do you want from me? I'm convinced right now this thing would beat me 50-0. This is Agent Mark 2.3. Even if you put me up... I wonder... Now here's an interesting one. Now, this is a point of comparison. Each of these games is played against a different agent, which you could argue is like playing against a different player. What would happen if you put one of these pro players up against the same agent 5 times? And is the agent allowed to learn from those games as well? Or can it? I don't know. But that is something I'd like to... Everybody's going to be asking so many questions. I need to stop asking big picture questions. We'll look at the small picture, which is the Alpha Cam. Deciding... Well, did both sides scout? Alphastar scouted Mana's base. He saw the 2-gate, the pylon on the low ground. Mana scouted Alpha's base. Oh, my camera followed the rocks. A Robo on the way. It looks like Mana's just going to try to play it safe this game. Alpha keeping that sentry on the high ground. Now, wait, no, that's Mana. That's why. I'm like, wow, it learned how to do the sentry on the high ground to protect against the depths? Maybe it did, but this is Mana. Mana's in the red. Stop confusing myself, me. Alphastar coming in, forcing Mana up to the high ground. 3-on-3, and Mana loses that engage. Another Stalker comes up. Mana's gonna come down. He's got a sentry with Guardian Shield, potentially. He pops it. That's gonna reduce some of the damage, but Alphastar, incredible Stalker micro. The Guardian Shield helping a little bit, but that's still 4 Stalkers to 1. The sentries won't be able to tickle through this. Alphastar just bullying its way forward. Mana's going to use the force field on the ramp. But Alphastar's already claimed the low ground that Mana's invested in a Nexus on. Alphastar's going to have a Nexus done. It has Phoenixes on the way. Is there already a Phoenix out? There is not. Just solid Stalker micro, not like ridiculous, out of the question, never before seen, just good Stalker micro. The Nexus might not fall, and Immortal is out. Picks off 1 Stalker. Great force field from Mana. Gonna isolate 4 of the Stalkers and be blasted apart by the cannons of that Immortal. Phoenix is coming in. He could potentially lift the Immortal. Well, it could, rather. This is Alphastar we're looking at. There's some sentries underneath. There's no pylon on the low ground for Mana to warp in. Alphastar has completed the expansion. The Phoenix has been revealed. Mana is scouting across. Might be thinking about a proxy pylon. He's looking for a 3rd at the very least. Alphastar with plenty of Stalkers. One thing, Alphastar has been very reliant on these very micro-intensive units. Stalkers, Phoenixes, Oracles, even I guess you could argue a Mothership, but quite heavy on units that require solid micromanagement. The probe coming in, he just slaps a pylon down to scout for a 3rd. That is important information to get a hold of, whether or not Alphastar is going to be able to take an expansion again. More Phoenixes on the way. Not a particularly bad set of units to have. Picks up 1 Stalker. Puts it right back down upon realizing the situation. Alphastar gonna come down the ramp. That's a lot of sentries in force field. The pickups are there. Alphastar looking for a pick-off on the Prism. Got a scout on it. The Stalker's gonna retreat right back up the ramp. Mana bullying forward. A strong army. 2 Immortals in the mix. The Phoenix is looking for the Prism. Nice force field from Mana. The Warpin's coming through. The Phoenix has stripped the shields away, but backs off without losing a single one. Hallucinated Phoenix from Mana. Now, can Alphastar figure out that's a hallucination? Will it react? In the Alphastar cam. Gonna come back to kill it. You can't tell it's a hallucination until it dies or if you have detection. Mana's moving his army around. I'd love to see Alphastar take down the rocks and cut the army in half. A lot of Stalkers, but Immortals, Guardian Shield, Warp Prism, Sentries. The force fields are good. Alphastar trying to snipe off the prism. A half dozen or maybe a dozen probes come up. Picking up the sentries, trying to remove the Guardian Shield. Not going to find it yet. The War Prism is out of here. A recall from Mana. He retreats from the fight. Alphastar. Perfect management. How many units has he? He's only lost 5 Stalkers and 1 Phoenix. Against 9 Stalkers and 5 Sentries. A War Prism from Mana. Alphastar. Again, Mana with the Desperation Templar. The Dark Shrine, but not... There's no anti-air. The Phoenixes can win on their own. The pickups are there. Alphastar coming in for the kill. Beautiful management on that fight. And now, gonna reap the benefits. The last Immortal will fall. The Stalker count way out of hand. Deja vu with Stalkers on the bottom of the ramp. And here comes Alphastar, not gonna bother with the natural when he could get the main. Alphastar 3. Mana 0. The decision-making on the Phoenix was really impressive. Now, I'm just scrolling through the article up here for filler, mostly. But has a lot of videos, little content there, especially if you're someone experienced in this field or interested in getting into it. I'm just going to say that after every game. You need to look at this, you need to watch the whole demonstration. It is not what I expected, and I already knew... I already knew this was going to happen. I was actually talking with the Deepmind team at the BlizzCon finals. One of the project leads, and they're like, "Yeah, we're thinking we can do pretty well. We're coming along pretty quickly because apparently there are more resources invested in the progress of the project." I thought they meant, like, maybe before BlizzCon of next year. Maybe, like, September or something. Nope! Couple months later. Here, let's go. Give it a shot, Mana. And I guess another point that was really driven home to me as an inexperienced observer was how little that humans are directly involved. Like, of course, there are some incredible and some of the smartest people in the world working on the team, but they're not the ones who teach Alphastar to play. Essentially, they just create the sandbox it plays in, and then it learns on its own. That's my understanding, which is, like I said, a little scary. Now, I'd actually like to hear, this isn't my generic like, subscribe, comment, but like, what are some fields you think artificial intelligence could benefit? I mean, almost everyone. But what are the biggest ones that aren't obvious? Deepmind is already working on things like, a big example is climate modeling. But what are things people might not expect that could benefit from something like an artificial intelligence that can train for 200 years in a week? Or the equivalent of it, at least. But we're gonna... I do have to do my generic shout-out. Of course, if you made it this far into the video, hopefully you don't hate me entirely. Now, I don't know if Alphastar has feelings, but... if you want to learn the good old-fashioned way, one game at a time, then, of course, on the channel you can find guides. I have a few series you might enjoy. If you're just looking for some more entertainment, whether it be Bronze League Heroes, Angry Coach, which is like coaching, except I'm angry. Very well explained. And professional games from all sorts of tournaments and all that. Some of which might soon involve less than human competitors. I'm very I have no idea what's going to happen next now. The fact it's anywhere close to competitive, let alone beating Mana. Like, I feel there has to be a tournament of some kind. We've got to figure out all the restrictions. Once we get to the point where the restrictions are simply like, I don't know, like, if it can play any race in any matchup, will it be allowed to enter tournaments? Or at least any race, or at least, like, play Protoss in all matchups. Should it be? I don't know. So far, Alphastar has not scouted. Alphastar shading adepts through. Gonna dodge out the Stalkers. This is the first scout from Alphastar. Whereas Mana losing his probe.
First blood.
A little bit sloppy there, keeping that probe in place. Alphastar, oh, beautiful recall. Realizes he's in over his head. Well, it's in over its metaphorical head. See, now it makes casting harder even. And now gets supply blocked. What a noob. Pylon just finishes. But that recall saving the 2 adepts, and now that the 2 adepts are still alive, Mana can't pressure. Because with those 2 adepts as still a threat, they could be combined with more units, and if Mana's out on the map, he could get overwhelmed. So the recall actually keeping some map control to Alphastar. Oracle's gonna come in. Alphastar has no defenses against this. It's warping in 1 Stalker. Now, its best defense, as we've seen in many of the games thus far, its best defense seems to be just building a bunch of extra probes. So despite losing 5 probes thus far to Mana's Oracle and just basic harass, it's still going to have a couple probe lead, especially considering an expansion has already been taken. Alphastar opting just... This is very odd to see. Just gateways. 5 gates. Continually producing probes, but no other tech. No Blink. No Robo. No Stargate. Alphastar leaning heavily on these Stalkers. Stalkers oftentimes not thought of as a great unit to mass up. Like, there's something that helps you get by in the early and the mid-game, but they don't have the staying power of something like an Immortal, or Archons, or Charge Lots. Zealots with charge. So, going Mass Stalker is usually frowned upon at higher level Protoss versus Protoss, just because in a straight up fight against someone with Immortals and all those strong units, guess what? You lose. Immortals are actually possibly one of the hardest counter. They might be the hardest counter to Stalkers out there. They're great. They have a lot of HP. They hit super hard against armored units like Stalkers. You don't want to go up against them, is the simple version. Blink is now on the way. No other upgrades. More gates being added on. Is Alphastar doing a Blink all-in? Alphastar Mark 2.4. Another revelation from Mana. Gonna keep track. Mana seems to be a little bit confused as to, oh, I guess it's just making a bunch of Stalkers. Gonna go to the Alphastar cam for a sec. Just microing around, adding the pylons on. The Stalkers hugging the Nexus, paying tribute. Splitting units, by the way, important to note. In some of the games against TLO on the main broadcast, it seemed to have a tendency to really like that select army hockey. We saw that in the Skytoss game from Alphastar Mark 1 earlier. But Alphastar Mark 2, not nearly as dependent on all of its units being together. That much is very clear. And this is a key component of top-level StarCraft, is being able to have multiple groups of units in different places in order to respond to different threats, or potentially pose different threats, rather. Mana's opting, like, Mana has all the pieces of the puzzle here. Mana's got stasis wards. He's got a disruptor. Why? There are 3 random stalkers showing up, just taking a little poke. Here comes Alphastar. 27 stalkers. 27. 28. I'm great at counting. I learned that all on my own. I didn't need a machine. Against an army that counters stalkers about as hard as you could ever hope to. Couple immortals. He's building 2 immortals at a time right now as well. The stasis wards can help prevent the blink. Purification Nova not gonna connect. Nice blank out. Engagement coming in, triggering the barriers. Targets down the disruptor. The immortals blasting through some of the stalkers. More stalkers coming to reinforce. Alphastar is pressing the issue. It's looking for the opportunity. Finds the barrier. Backs off for a split second, and then after the barrier is untriggered, I guess, it's able to target down the immortal a lot more easily without the shield. A few stasis stalkers acting as something of a budget force field there, and Alphastar not able to press the issue. Mana, while he's a little bit down on supply, still 5 immortals in the army composition. Another stasis ward coming up. Some zealots in front. That stasis runs out. Alphastar immediately blanks out. Alphastar realizing that it has map control. Taking a 3rd base as well. The blinks are incredible. 1 immortal targeted down. So the barriers on immortals, they cannot be turned off. Like, they can be triggered by a single shot. Alphastar keeps triggering the barriers, not targeting the immortal, then a few seconds later, will target those immortals once the barrier is offline. You see right there, going for the immortal, gonna pick it off, blinks back. How many stalkers? Only lost 8 stalkers thus far, still 33 on the field. But Mana slips out 3 Dark Templar. Did Alphastar see it? It started a robo, immediately building an observer. The blinks continue on the opposite side. The Dark Templar going straight for the robo, but the observer's already here. The stalkers are coming in at the same time. Alphastar caught by the stasis, didn't notice it. The DTs take out the robo. Mana will recall them back, correctly maybe assuming that there's no detection. On the other side, he can use them defensively. Mana beats back the stalkers. A lot more went down. 25 stalkers have been lost now. Maybe some more here. Oh, God. Not an incredible blink from Alphastar. It's coming in both sides. The Immortals bashing through the stalkers. Finally starting to show their strength. Units all over the map. Alphastar trying to maintain some control. This is happening. Now, Mana's moving out. He's got the army together, but blink stalkers from the bottom left. Another group of stalkers to the north. Mana's desperately trying to get something done here. The stalkers continue to harass. On paper, Mana's army is so much better. Here comes Alphastar again. The blink stalkers growing in number on both sides, finding pickoffs. They do have better range than many of the units that Mana has. Oh, a beautiful save on the Archon for a split second, but not forever. Mana's coming in. He's desperately trying to isolate, but the Stalker's so slippery. Now, this is something, what we're seeing right now, this is inhuman. Now, of course, literally and figuratively, no pro player is able to keep up on this Stalker micro on both sides so reliably for so long. The Stalker's at the back. Mana's still putting together this incredibly strong army. But the Stalkers continue to harass. He gets the Prism. I don't know if he got something out of it. The Disruptor goes down. The charge is... Mana really needed charge. He forgot his charge upgrade, or at least maybe he couldn't afford it. I don't know. But not having charge slots is making it so difficult to deal with these Stalkers. His army becomes disjointed. He's dragged back and forth, left and right, and Mana's been whittled down. Only 3 Immortals left. One Archon desperately tries to come in. More Stalkers being lost from Alphastar. Alphastar has a third. Mana does not. Mana's starting to mine out of that main base where Alphastar has continued income. +2 attack is done for the blue Protoss, well, artificial intelligence. where it's just +1 for the Polish counterpart. This is incredible constant pressure from Alphastar from all angles. The block! The offensive blink on top, targeting down Immortals. And Alphastar in a display of multitasking I have almost never seen before. Well, if not never seen before. Well, if you never let them attack, you don't have to defend. The aggressive zone defense Alphastar was playing gets him game number 4. It's so hard to... Well, not completely out of the question. Being able to manage all that, that is... Mana said after that game. That was on the main demonstration. Mana said that no pro player, any pro player, would have lost all of his stalkers. Like, this is why you don't go mass stalkers, because you can't reliably keep them alive long enough. Now, Mana forgot his charge, though. If he had that charge upgrade, maybe he could have forced a fight and killed enough stalkers to get momentum. But he didn't have it in time, and Alphastar kept picking him apart, stalking him, if you will, across the map. And Mana didn't even make it to his base. He never got to attack. This is the last chance for humanity. It's coming up right now. Now, this is Alphastar Mark 2.5. It's already won a best of 5 series, but we're playing 5. Well, there are the 5 best agents that the Alphastar, well, came out of the Alphastar League. I'm excited to talk about Alphastar Mark 3 after this match, but we got one more. Can Mana bring it back for humanity? Or does Deepmind continue its dominance? In the top left, representing the entire human race, and professional StarCraft 2 players, and Team Liquid, and Poland, and Protoss, it's Liquid Mana. In the bottom right, the creation of some of the best minds in artificial intelligence and computer science and engineering and all of that. On the cusp of showing the power of artificial intelligence, it is Alphastar, Agent Mark 2.5. Alphastar's trying to steal the gas. What? You crazy... It learned it, and then it builds a pylon in Mana's base. Okay, this is crazy. Alphastar. So this is a strategy that is occasionally used, especially by more creative Protoss players, is to steal the gas of your opponent. If you do that, they don't have access to nearly as many resources. But Mana blocked it, which, like, if you get ahead of it, if you're able to put a probe on the gas or just take the gas yourself, it can't be stolen. So Alphastar was denied. It's almost like, it almost seems like it put a pylon in Mana's base out of spite. It's like, well, F you then. Also, Alphastar has walled off the low ground with a later cybernetics core without a second gate. So this Alphastar agent is off the rails right now. Or maybe these are the rails. I don't actually know what rails it's learned how to play on. But why did you build a pylon? Why did it build a pylon? I'm so confused. I'm sure Mana is very confused as well. It's gonna proxy a Robo. Am I watching? Okay, guys, I figured it out. Alphastar is actually just Florencio in robot form. They just took all of Florencio's replays, and then they just fed them into Alphastar. And now we have the artificial sewer mermaid intelligence. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out Florencio and his incredibly creative / disgusting Protoss strategies. Alphastar, it seems to be both, well, in different iterations, an incredible cheeser, but also a solid macro player. Alphastar continuing the proxy. Mana has no idea. Mana's coming down the ramp. Like, what's this? Why is there a shield battery? He's microing against it, and Immortal being chrono boosted out. The probe coming in. He wants that extra shield battery. There's a shield battery at the back. Micro's back. The probe goes down. A beautiful cancel from Alphastar. Immortal coming through. Just continuing. It's like, what is happening? It's all happened so fast. I'm getting confused. The probes are coming down, looking for the surround. They don't catch the Immortal. They only catch the Stalker. The Immortal's blasting through. Mana is dying. He's got an Immortal on the way. Finishes up another Stalker. But there's a sheep. Alphastar brought another probe. What is building a Stargaze? This is madness. There's a sentry. Oh, beautiful force field from Mana. But gonna still do some damage in the process. Another Immortal comes up. Building a Stargate at the bottom of the ramp. Alphastar started with the failed gas steal into proxy pylon, into proxy robo, into proxy Stargate. This is crazy. I mean, like, none of this... I feel it's very... I'm just repeating myself when I say none of this makes any sense, but... Does that... Now, what do you build, Alphastar? I don't know. A Phoenix out of it. Oh, the shield battery. Gonna keep the Immortal alive for now. The DPS of Immortals against Immortals is very high. Oh my god. Saves the Immortal. The battery's doing so much. Alphastar, beautiful micro. The battery's at the back. Mana's trying to break through. He can't quite do it. The Immortal microed back. Incredible micro kills Mana's Immortal. There's a warp prism, but there's nothing it can do. A Phoenix finishes and can kill the prism. Mana has next to no units left, and Immortal's in production, but it's a long way off. Alphastar with incredible Immortal micro with the batteries to back it up. We thought Haz was a cheeser. Well, Alphastar. Even the probe getting in on the action. What do you even do now? That's two Immortals and a Phoenix. Like, it's building a Void Ray. One Immortal will be blasted apart by Mana. 16 to 19 probes. Another battery. Picks up a Zealot. The Void Ray's nearly done. Mana's desperately trying to defend. The Immortal micro. Intense. Those Immortals have broken. Mana has been off balance the whole game. He hasn't been knocked over yet. But high ground vision is being provided. There's next to no anti-air and a Void Ray is nearly done. He could... Does Alphastar have enough energy for a pickup on the Immortal? It does, but gonna target down the Prism. The Prism falls. The Void Ray is done. Mana has nothing, no gateways are powered. There's not nearly enough anti-air. GG! Alphastar with the clean 5-0 sweep. No, Alphastar also doesn't know that charging up the Void Ray doesn't do more damage to probes, so that makes him even with every Diamond player out there. Alphastar 5-0 against Mana. But wait. There's one more match. So, that was Alphastar Mark II. Until Mark III, which is coming up now, Alphastar hasn't been restricted by having to move the camera on its own. From my understanding, once again, not an expert understanding, it is essentially looking at a zoomed out version of the whole map, and since it is a computer, it can remember everything within its vision. It can't see the rest of the things on the map, but it can see everything within its vision, so it doesn't actually have to move the camera and spend time doing that. So, the Alphastar team, and I actually have the relevant info up here, did a calculation of the camera interface. This is Mark III, where Alphastar now has to manage the camera just like a player does. So we're actually going to watch this match through the Alphastar cam. The eyes, well, you might have seen Eyes of a Pro Gamer on my channel. Well, time for Eyes of an Artificial Intelligence. Because this match was played live at Deepmind headquarters in London. I don't know if that's headquarters or where they just had the event, but in Mana, we'll challenge it once again. The closest that an artificial intelligence has ever come to playing StarCraft just like a human. It has less APM than your average player. It has less screens per minute slash, well, unable to launch okay, go ahead. Load it up. I really hope the game loads, because the game is currently busy. This game is so incredible that I may have to just log out to check it out. We will see. Chill with me in the spawning pool. I hope you've enjoyed me covering these matches. I would really hate not to be able to watch this one, but at the very least we can watch the demonstration. You can do it, StarCraft. You can handle it. I believe in you. Oh, it's working. It's happening. So, it has used data points to calculate the potential MMR of Alphastar based on the replays of other players at incredibly high levels. There are some agents of Alphastar that Deepmind estimates are over 7,000 MMR. There are only a single-digit number of players who have ever touched over 7,000 MMR, and most of them are named Cyril. But with that in mind, I now give you Alphastar Mark III. And against Mana in a live exhibition match. This Alphastar is restricted entirely by the bounds of what a human player is restricted by. It already was before, but this is the actual program / artificial intelligence moving the camera itself. Not just an interpretation of it, but it must move the camera itself, and it can only control units like that. So I'm just going to watch through the perspective of Alphastar. If you want to watch through Mana's perspective, that's on the live demonstration. All the links are in the description, or probably in related videos or something like that. Whatever you've been watching on the YouTube algorithm. Now, if only YouTube, which is a subsidiary of Google, also had an artificial intelligence that told people to just watch all my videos, then I'd be convinced we've reached the highest point. But we're not quite there yet. You're going to have to do it on your own. Now, does Alphas... Here's an interesting question. I haven't heard anything like you're out of minerals, you're supply blocked. I don't think there's any way to turn off those sounds or anything. They should show up. Is it just that Alphastar only makes effective actions? Like, it can already calculate? It doesn't have the minerals, or it will be supply blocked? Or does that just happen to be what's happened so far? Because the reason why professional players a lot of the time have higher actions per minute is because they're not as efficient. Some of the actions are redundant. As in, like, maybe you right-click a Phoenix to the same spot 3 or 4 times to make sure it goes there, as opposed to just being there once. But Alphastar, ideally, of course, would not have any of those restrictions. Is Alphastar doing anti-mineral micro, where you pretend like the probe is mining to try to block other probes from mining? No, it's just picking up the minerals, which is really interesting. It decided to do that in the first place. A couple stalkers coming out. Stargate is the choice. A lot of micro potential in that. Alphastar and human players all know that. It seems to be using camera locations or minimap clicking, but there's a little bit of dragging as well. Like, it looks very similar to what a human player would be doing at this stage of the game, which is I don't know what it is, to be honest. It's decided on a few different pylon placements than you'd always see with human players, but some of them are very similar. You have kind of the pattern of pylons near the nexus, so that way they can be used for defense or building things like shield batteries or cannons. But then you've got some random pylons we've seen as well. I wonder what... I'd love to see, like, some replays, if possible, of the games that... in the Alphastar League, when the agents played against one another to determine the survivor of the arena, essentially. And what some of the early ones, like, what does a failed Alphastar agent look like? What does one of the rejected ones look like? What were they doing? And how close do they look to a bronze player in StarCraft? All important question. Oracles are the choice. Alphastar adding on more gates and an expansion. There's a hallucinated Phoenix. Alphastar can't tell it's a hallucinated Phoenix, but seems to not be reacting to it. Not too worried about it. Maybe it knows the timing. I'm not sure. Oh, immediately a sentry. Gonna go for the one warping in. The second sentry as well. Alphastar decides, okay, I'm just gonna take it out. Sacrificing an Oracle for 2 sentries. That's 200 gas, and those sentries build up value as time goes on. So do Oracles. So that's an interesting choice to just sacrifice it. But getting the 2 sentries is a pretty big win as well. Oh, Alphastar moving out. Gonna be aggressive. Mana, one of the first times that the human player has been a little bit ahead in probes. Oracle gonna come into the main. The Stalkers. This is a 2-pronged attack, trying to draw attention away. Now, the Oracles were scouted, so Mana has a shield battery, but Alphastar comes in with a 2-prong. Drawing the Stalkers out, that baited Mana into having all his defenses at the front, but the shield battery will keep enough probes alive. But super interesting that Alphastar does. This is a classic tactic, like, you want to draw their attention. Oh, gets a sentry there as well. You want to draw their attention and their forces away so that you can do more damage to the workers. Alphastar now has 2 Oracles, which can target down probes immediately, even despite the shield battery, because it does damage so quickly. Killing a lot of probes here. Some nice micro on the Oracles, but gonna sacrifice 1. The shield battery's actually out of energy. Mana losing a lot of workers here. Now, Alphastar is sacrificing the Oracle, but up by 15 workers now. A bit of an overcommitment here, it looks like. The force fields are going to help out dramatically, and Mana is going to strike back. Adept shading in. Looking for probes. They will complete the shade. Alphastar is responding. Oracle on the opposite side. The probe count will be evened up a little bit. So, Alphastar seems to be really focused on the attack. Wow. This reminds me so much of, especially maybe some less experienced human players. Really getting some tunnel vision. Alphastar is tunnel visioning on the attack and is losing a lot of probes to the Adepts. 2 Adepts getting 8 probes is a bit much, considering Alphastar already had plenty of units to potentially defend. Oracle's coming through. Alphastar's taking a 3rd. Really relying on the Oracles. Mana has an observer above the army at the natural, if you look closely. I'm not sure if Alphastar is able to spot that very easily. It's right there. I will actually point it out. So that, with that observer, Mana knows what Alphastar is doing. Well, where all the Stalkers especially are moving. The Oracle's still coming in. Alphastar already had a worker lead and going to continue to compound that, but the Oracles are going to fall to all that Stalker damage. Not really paying attention to the Adept at home. Easily distracted. Another bit of tunnel vision from Alphastar means some more workers will fall. Still maintaining a 10-worker lead, though. Blink is on the way. It looks like we're going to be leaning on those Stalkers for quite a while here. Mana had a probe scout out. I believe that scouted the 3rd. In come the Oracles again. Really, the sacrifice is being made to kill these. At this point, how many oracles have been lost? I feel like 5 going on 6 oracles for these workers is a bit much. It already has an economic lead, so trading your army out is a bit risky because that means your opponent could potentially have an army that can kill you because you've been trading your army for workers as opposed to being able to fight their army. Alphastar's moving out, but in comes a Warp Prism from Mana. Couple of mortals inside. Alphastar dragging back all the Stalkers. There was no vision there. No Phoenix in production. A Phoenix could shoot down that Warp Prism and pretty much be dealt with. Remember the Observer from Mana. This Observer giving so much information. Super important at this stage of the game. So Alphastar gonna go out again. Looking for the Prism. Not finding it. The Stalkers are going to try to come back across. They're halfway across the map, but back comes the Warp Prism. Alphastar making an Oracle. Mana may have finally found a weakness. Just a single Phoenix would shut this down. This is where Alphastar is starting to look a little bit more, I guess, robotic. Because a human player, a human Protoss, immediately, as soon as you see that drop, Warp Prism, Phoenix on the way. Shut it down. But the Warp Prism's coming back in. Alphastar seeming to have a neural network breakdown, as a single Phoenix could stop this, but Mana continues to abuse. Alphastar's ahead on supply, more workers. All it needs to do is build a Phoenix. That's it. But it just seems to not have that coded in. This agent may have never built a Phoenix, ever. It might have learned that Phoenixes are bad and you never win with them, which would be very silly. But it's possible, I guess. In comes the Warp Prism drop. The Blink Star, he just blinked back the Stalker. It just blinked back the Stalkers. Still struggling. Gotta get a Phoenix. Humanity finally found a breakdown. A revelation. All the Stalkers are chasing it down. Now this reminds me of a Bronze League Heroes game. Everybody get the Prism. Get it. Go get it. No, we can't blink it. Nope. Oh my god. Mana has broken it. Mana has found weakness. This Alphastar agent has never learned to build a Phoenix. And now all the Stalkers, oh my god. It's stuck its camera on this area for so long too. It just doesn't know what to do. And now Mana, here comes Mana! Alphastar forced into retreat. Mana's here to save his Prism. Probably a little confused as to why the Prism is even still alive. But Mana bashing forward with Immortals, Archons, and charge lots. The Spear of Humanity. The Blink Stalkers are coming back to an extent. It looks like Alphastar thinking about a base trade, but this is a deadly army. Stalkers do not beat this straight up. Alphastar, that Warp Prism drop, just everything has unraveled. And Mana, it looks like he's in position to just... we've seen incredible Blink Micro, but that is like 8 Immortals. And Mana also has +2 attack. Alphastar has no attack upgrades. Mana short-circuited it. The pros are forced to retreat. You're not fighting this army. Math still applies. This is not the same situation as a couple games into Agent Mark II, where the Blink Stalkers were able to harass from every angle. They were on the back foot, and they're just getting further down. Now, Mana's won the match. He's won! Mana wins! Humanity has a chance! But Alphastar doesn't know how to GG, so Super BM, Mana will have to kill all the buildings. And Alphastar, when does it build a pylon out on the map? That's the real question. But this is very interesting. Apparently this Agent Mark III, was mostly untested, just to make it as close, and this is what the team will be working on, the Alphastar team will be working on in the near future, is the camera-limited Alphastar agents. So essentially, everything about it is like a human player in that it has to move the camera, it has to select units with a virtual mouse and keyboard, it only has that vision, and it has to, well, the camera, obviously a limiting factor. It's kind of odd. It seems like, not being able to, well, how do I want to phrase this? It seems like the weakness of this Alphastar agent wasn't necessarily that it had to move the camera manually. It just didn't build a Phoenix. So that doesn't seem to be related to the restrictions of camera movement. It was winning. If it had built a Phoenix in time, I think it had the army to break through. But something broke down in there, and it wasn't able to put the right army together. And Mana used that exploit to great benefit and is able to take a match. So, at the end of the day, with 5 wins against TLO, and with 5 wins against Mana, Alphastar Agent Mark III doesn't quite break through, but especially that dual-pronged attack with the Oracles and the Stalkers at the start, there was some interesting decision-making on the part of Alphastar, but I think this was a lot more and a lot higher level StarCraft than I expected to see going into this. Like, so I don't know. I'm trying to summarize my thoughts here, but like I said, impressive, intriguing, and a little terrifying, because this is not something that can split Marines at 27,000 actions per minute. It doesn't just rely on mechanical skill, even though a lot of it was just simply macroing better, but it cheesed, it attacked, it all-ined. And it seems to continue to evolve, especially the difference between Mark 1 and Mark 2 was incredible. So, obviously the big questions, where do we go from here? Will Cyril be able to handle it? And what are the larger implications and applications of artificial intelligence like this in the near and not so near future? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. And just from me, I stream every day on Twitch, twitch.tv/wintergaming. I'm sure I'll be talking about this for the next, well, for quite a while, but especially the next few days in this end of January. I'd love to hear from you. So, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed my coverage. Please check out the article and the main demonstration, which also involves some small interviews with the project leads. And well, now we're here. It's not coming. It's here. And how long till artificial intelligence, well, is better than us? I think it can be measured in months, not in years or decades, not anymore. So, signing off, a soon-to-be obsolete human player and caster. I've been Winter. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, all that BS. Good luck, have fun. Have an amazing day. And stay chill. See you soon.